Everyone, I'm here today to talk to you about Hugh Gardner's Cabbagetown. So Cabbagetown is a Toronto neighborhood. It has a very specific perimeter, but before World War II, it actually used to be kind of a slum. On the internet, it is labeled as the largest Anglo-Saxon slum in North America. So from what I gather from the introduction as well, it used to have a lot of Irish people and a lot of people who couldn't afford to live anywhere else in the city. But at the same time, it attracted a lot of artists and poets and sculptors. It was kind of special because it maintained this very specific charm. It had Victorian houses on one hand that were pretty extraordinary and what have now become incredible historical landmarks. Hugh Gardner was a Canadian novelist, and he wrote this book in the 1950s and then later revised it and made it longer. But this book is actually set during the Great Depression. So it follows this young man by the name of Ken Tilling, and he has just graduated high school, and he's very ambitious and a little full of himself, but he has good reason to feel that way because he's smart, he has all this potential, and because he graduates in 1926, there's this sort of almost unrealistic expectation set up around him. Like, he walks out of graduation and people around him are sort of throwing jobs at him. Like, hey, do you want to work down at the construction site? How about at the post office? Where jobs are just sort of thrown at him from all angles. And he's like, no, I want to work at a very important something else. And it's sort of unrealistic in many ways, and it kind of reflects in his voice more than what's actually happening. And then, of course, in 1929, the big stock market crash happens. Now, what I found charming about this novel is that first it shows you how the poor were actually the least affected by the crash at the very beginning. Because they're like, so what? The stock market crashed. That doesn't mean anything to me. I don't own any stocks. And then slowly it affects them the most. You get to see this character kind of go through a lot. So the main essence of this novel, it's the atmosphere, because it captures the voice of a neighborhood in a very specific time. I would say the language is a little bit wonky for me. I didn't really fall in love with the sort of dialogue or descriptions, or it almost had none. It felt like I just came out of a Kazuo Ishiguro novel, and I can say without a doubt that the language in that one is phenomenal, but here it's different. But I also think that that's kind of the point, because he's trying to capture the voice of a neighborhood in a specific time where everyone is kind of lacking in both education and there's this kind of rawness to it. Okay, so I'm gonna put on my shoes, and I figured we could go on an adventure together to Cabbagetown because it's a wonderful neighborhood. It's definitely in my top two. I think Cabbagetown and Kensington are my two favorite Toronto neighborhoods. And I take everyone to Cabbagetown when they come visit because I live pretty close to it. But I don't think people really appreciate it. I think it's so worth visiting. And I'm going to take you with me now, and I'm going to show you like little fun facts all over the place because it has an amazing history. So I'm going to take my book with me. Look at that. That's beautiful. Like it's a phoenix. No, put that down. Put that down. That's plastic. So Cabbagetown is made up of all these cute little streets with houses that are now millions of dollars. Honestly. They're all very, very old. And they have historical importance, clearly. And they're now kind of like little law firms. So we're gonna find all of the like historical landmarks now and talk about them a little bit. See what we can find. I honestly can't get over how beautiful these are. Again, millions of dollars. Aha, I think we've got it. I think we've got it. We are kind of going at this the opposite way than I usually would. I normally go from north to south, but this time we're gonna do it the other way. Excuse me? We're going in. We are so going in. So, as we're coming up against Carlton, I'm gonna unleash some fun facts. So this corner place used to be a meat shop in 1896. It was a butcher store owned by Joseph Weston. And then in 1935, it became Atlantic and Pacific Meats. And now, it's a Salvation Army store. So another super fun fact, these two houses, 28 and 26, used to be owned by James Grant and Samuel Toy, the people who kind of started the Grant and Toy Company. It's like a stationery place in Toronto. In 1882, Grant started selling people stationery door to door, and then he teamed up with his brother-in-law, Samuel Toy, and then they started the Grant and Toy Shop, which is further down in Toronto in the city. But I was able to find it and it's kind of a pub now. Oh, here's the black. I knew it. So I really wanted to show you where they're buried because they're in the St. James Cemetery, really close to each other, and it's super close, but it's closed right now, so we can't go. But I'll take you to another cemetery, my favorite. Okay, so now we're gonna walk some more. I love these. It's a free little library. It says please take one and enjoy. They have sea of monsters. Huh. Yeah, I'm not gonna take anything, but this neighborhood is full of these. I love it. Okay, I hope you're ready for this fun fact. So, that house, 308, is haunted. Yep. Haunted. So the story is that a teenage daughter of Benjamin Bick is haunting this house. She upstairs. She apparently changes and straightens up items in the hallways and the rooms. Yep. This ghost cleans your house and organizes things because it's a friendly Canadian ghost. Apparently, it's one of the only houses in Toronto where the deed clearly indicates that the house is haunted, so... And of course, right next to it is another little free library. Shall we go and check out what's in that one? Yes. So it's not Harry Potter, it's Henry Porter. I see. So that's the haunted house over there. And then here in this cute little house, which has like an old Cabbagetown sign on it. It's like really, really small. A historical landmark. It says that this is where Benjamin Bick, the builder, lived, so that would be his daughter. All right, we're making good progress. Good progress through Cabbagetown. Oh my god, look how pretty this house is. Wait, there's a sign on it. Ooh. I really want to sit on that mossy bench and read a book because it's so cozy. What's this? I see you. See, one of the things that's kind of cool is that you have these super old houses that look ancient, and then right behind them you have skyscrapers. And there's a really cute cemetery in Toronto called St. Michael's Cemetery, where it's this teeny tiny pile of tombstones, and then all you see around that is skyscrapers. It's honestly kind of a treat. This beautiful little ice cream place, Necropolis. It is a cemetery, my favorite, and across the street is a farm, and it has this like really cute Victorian house over there, which you can't really see through the trees, but basically they have a petting zoo, and it's kind of Toronto's first petting zoo. You can sort of see some animals, but they closed because it's a little late today. This place is really amazing when it comes to community building. There's a farmer's market that happens pretty often, and people bring their children here, and the weekends it's like super packed because people bring blankets and food and they take their kids to the petting zoo. So that's really nice. But of course I go across the street because that's my jam. I will be buried here, guys, if I have to dig the hole myself. This better be my final resting. I'm gonna be so upset. I'm gonna haunt everyone. Okay, so fun fact, this is historical as well, of course, and it's really cozy. It's not just the ivy on it, it's just the whole thing. It's beautiful and gothic and has all this moss, and the crematorium is right there as well, and it's just so beautiful. It looks beautiful in every season. Sometimes you can go inside. If you don't know who Al Purdy is, he's a wonderful Canadian poet, and they recently raised a statue of him to commemorate him in Queen's Park, which is a bit of a walk from here. Oh, look at that. It looks like one of those old school things you see on TV in the Wild West or something. Yeah, I found an old picture of this, don't you worry. But across the street from that, this house belonged to Shallow, the guy who won the Nobel Prize. And if you don't believe me, I'll just have to show you. Here, Dr. Arthur Shallow, Nobel Laureate, Physics, 1981. Yay, Canada! Okay, so the last famous house that belonged to a person is just down the street from Shallow, over there. And it should be around here somewhere. So we're looking for number 43, and I think we found it. Alward was famous for the Canadian National Vimy Memorial, and he makes an appearance in a novel called The Stone Carvers. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. Really? So this is Cabbagetown. If you look south, that's kind of what you see, and from here south it's just Cabbagetown. So a fun fact, this pizza right here, okay, was the very first pizza in Toronto, right at Wellesley and Parliament. It was open on New Year's Eve on December 31st, 1967. What? Yeah, so we're definitely going that way because I want you to see this place from a different angle now. One of the only good bakeries in Toronto. I love this place. Yes, I bought a loaf of bread. Vintage clothes. So Toronto used to have this amazing hotel called the Winchester Hotel, and I'll put up a picture. And today, this hotel has been turned into, and I'm not joking, okay, a Tim Hortons day. It's under construction. Hopefully this means something. I hope it does. But inside is a Tim Hortons. Here it is from a different angle. Oh, sorry, it is also a Subway. Good to know. Okay, that antique store is actually worth going into. It's closed now, but it's usually pretty cool. And this cafe. That one's pretty cool. But yeah, this is Cabbagetown. We've been there, seen everything. So we're now down to our last little bit. According to my research, behind this creepy school, which I'd totally love to work in someday, we're supposed to find the author's house. So Hugh Gardner apparently lived at 550 Ontario Street. I think it's been turned into a co-op housing, so I'm not entirely sure. Ooh, will you look at that? We found it! So this is where he used to live. Now I tried finding this, but this is a newer edition. The first edition used to look like this. This was a later edition, and I think this picture is also newer than his contemporary. And I did find a modern looking picture of this, but it has nothing to do with this exact location. So yay, we found it. Yeah, this probably looked different too. I couldn't find vintage photos of this. Sorry. Well, thank you for coming with me on this walk, and I hope we all learned something about Toronto today. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!